last night to see if he was barefoot. Is that still the case? Is he barefoot? Because I know on Facebook somebody posted a picture of these could be his shoes, or is that so he is presumed to be barefoot at this point?
What I can say is that his mom says all of his shoes are accounted for at the house. I'm not going to say that he's barefoot.
All right.
Allegedly!
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative. Here's a brief disclaimer for tonight's show. Let's watch.
That's ignorant! Allegedly, that's ignorant! Ignorant.
Judgment, Arthur.
Chloe, you read my thoughts. You've got the shinin.
You mean shining?
Shh! You wanna get sued?
Judgment, Arthur.
You just use that shin of yours to call me and I'll come a running. But don't be reading my mind between 4 and 5. That's Willie's time.
Hey, yo, Bob. I love it when he does that.
Let's watch.
Don't get me back to good bullshit.
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here coming at you with another raw narrative, and it's so good to see all of you. Astrology for Mystics, I have to admit this epic fail again. I did not mod you and I see that now. It's always a reminder, right? I'm so sorry. I just had a really busy day today, so my goodness. And Hey Jude's gonna be in here any minute. She's gonna chew my ass for it. Hey, Telling the Truth, thank you so much for starting us out tonight. We have Trishy. I saw Megan Els. I saw Rita. Good to see you, Rita. Meow. Good to see you. Thank you all so much for being here. And oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. Astrology. I'm sorry. My goodness. Hey Jude sent me the link, so she's gonna be like, what is going on? But no, it's so good to see all of you guys. Just a busy Saturday. I hope you all are, if you're traveling, I hope you have safe travels, and I hope you get to where you're going safely, and just have a wonderful time with family. I'm going to be off tomorrow because I'm going to go to the beach on Easter. This is the first year that I didn't put together like an Easter basket. I know when the kids get astrology. My goodness. I know, but I am. I'm so sorry, gosh. But like when the kids get older and stuff like that, but I would always make like Easter baskets for my daughter, and this is the first year that I didn't. I almost like sent one through Amazon, but then I don't know. I just figured, she's getting too old for it, but it's gonna be weird. Thank you, Trishy, for dropping the link for Astrology for Mystics. But yeah, so it's gonna be a little bit different for me this year, but I hope that you all have a wonderful time with family, and go to mass or whatever you like to do. And the Easter egg hunts are always fun for little ones and stuff like that, for whoever has little ones or grandkids, or all that good jazz. The baby foots need a silver bracelet. I agree with that. I agree. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to come up here tonight and just do like a kind of a free for all, and just kind of, whatever you guys want to talk about, some topics, or we can go over. I have a ton of different kind of subjects that we can talk about. There's so much going on in Sebastian's case. Kind of the reason why I haven't clipped anything up for clips for us, because it's just been going kind of wild lately, right? There's just a lot going on. I did want to go over and check out, hey, Mama Risa. I did want to go over and check out, some of the like chatter that was going on, and some of the things we discussed last night. But I didn't really want to, continue on with talking about all of that mess, really. I would rather talk about some of the key points in Sebastian's case, some of the things that maybe we've gone over. I wanted to bring in the newest phone call that was released with Heather Cohen, PI for Seth. She was the PI for Seth. And, so I'm still working on pulling that in, so it's a little bit more concise, because Justin played it on his channel. But that way I won't leave in as much of Justin's commentary, although I do love his talking points are so good. He also has a little bit of information on the audio, so I'm going to leave some of that in there, but it just takes a little bit of time to edit. So just some stuff to look forward to, and the other videos, but I figured tomorrow will be a good time to work on that as well while I'm kind of relaxing. So, but I know that there's been, a lot of pressure that has built up in and around the case, right? So there's been a lot of kind of back and forth. We've had some litigation kind of going on. I watched a little bit of Mr. and Mrs. E's Crimecast because I really enjoy their take and the read through style that they've been going through with litigation. And I did see Deception Detective, Astrology for Mystics. I did. Very well done. He is really, really awesome. I really like it. So like I said, I've been watching I've been watching stuff here and there, and then of course, hey Bless, good to see you. I've been watching things here and there. Anything somebody sends me, like if somebody sends me a link, I will, go over and check it out. Sometimes if it's a longer video, I might scan through it a little bit. But the Deception Detective is a really good kind of, I guess he's a lawyer. Okay, so he says he's a lawyer who is trained to kind of show when people are being deceptive. Hey, Maman, good to see you. Good to see you. And Denise, welcome in. Yeah, love him. He's got like a great voice for YouTube, right? He's very well dressed, very well put together, super smart guy, right? Looking for phrases and key points that he can show that Katie and Chris are kind of being deceptive. In the video today, he talks a lot about how he thinks that Katie and Chris might be watching his videos and pulling in some of the information. Now, if we remember, Yada, when she was on Bullhorn Betty, stated that she felt the same way, that they were watching people and kind of, taking in the public reaction or some of the people who were critiquing them, and then they were shifting their narrative to form a better understanding, if you will, from their perspective, right? So Chris and Katie are trying to shift and say, oh, well, this is why this happened, and they're kind of explaining things based on what they're watching. They're adding to their story based on what they're watching. And I always thought that that was true. We also do know that Chris himself has admitted to creeping on people, right? And going into their channels and, hiding out in the bushes, if you will. Thanks, Meg. Thank you, Meg. So yeah, I mean, there's been proof of that, right? And then I even, busted him on him in a video, like joking around, being like, hey, by the way, Chris Proudfoot is always creeping in on people's channels, right? And I think they do that. Or like how anybody else is, right? If somebody has access to your email or your phone, they can send you a quick link or a screen grab or whatever, and then before you know it, you have that information right in front of you. So you don't always have to seek it out. I'm not saying that, but either way, I found it very interesting too. I'm trying to think of the other talking point that he had that was really good. Oh, other missing kids, right? So if we remember, I believe it was, my earliest recollection was like he said something in Cluminati when he played the Sling Blade. He called in and acted like Sling Blade, right? And then I also remember him talking about that in Queen Bee's live, which was, again, I should probably know these dates by heart, but get my raggedy piece of paper out here. Let's see. May 23rd, 2024, Queen Bee, right? He definitely said it there where he was like, hey, we need to focus on all the missing kids, and I believe as early as, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, and if you guys remember this, hey, Cinderella, hey, Ida Anthony, if you remember this, didn't Katie bring that up in Smiley Stories interview? So that would have been even earlier than that. That would have been earlier than that. Because Smiley's was on March 20th. That's 24 days after Sebastian went missing. So there's that, right? Because she said something like all the missing kids need to be found. Either way, hey, Hindsight, good to see you. Either way, I mean, that's pretty amazing, right? That they're already wondering. Yeah, it's weird, Trishy. It's so weird, right? It's like, what is going on that you would start thinking about other missing kids? Because what Deception Detective was saying was basically, that's something that we see often from parents whose children have been missing for an extended period of time. It's common because they advocate for other children, to help out, because that's what they feel like they're called to do, right? I mean, even look at John Walsh. I mean, that's why he's on America's Most Wanted, right? That's why he's done so much child advocacy, because of what happened to his son, Adam. Hey, Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom. Happy Easter. Happy Easter. Yes, and happy Easter to everyone. Welcome to everyone coming in. So this concept has been talked about with them several times, and I find it very interesting that it's been a pretty common theme. Another thing that Katie had said was she doesn't want Sebastian's name to fall to the bottom of a feed somewhere, which, I mean, obviously that's every parent's, worst fear when their child is missing. They're somewhere out there. Um, and there's new cases and people are interested in telling new stories. But she said that very early on too. I believe it was somewhere around like the Only Hands interview when they only showed their hands with Caitlin Miller. Yeah, 11 days in, March 7th, right? So just very early on. And maybe those aren't the exact interviews even, but I mean, that's kind of my recollection of the time frame around that they did that. So yeah, right, Trishy, exactly. Your drive to fight for your kid is so powerful. It would overpower any other altruistic reason, regardless, in my opinion. Definite red flags. Red flag, red flag, red flag. Because it just would. You wouldn't care about anything else besides finding your son. You wouldn't it would, like you said, Trisha, yes, absolutely. It would overpower everything, any type of other reason, no matter what. And, we also see them worried about haters very early on too, right? Like, you know, people just are bashing us, I mean, I particularly, I don't even think that would be on my radar, right? What are other people saying about me? But I think it says a lot that was on their mind at the time of this happening, right? Because it should have been the furthest thing from their mind, but a guilty person would want to know what other people are saying so that way they can get in front of the narrative. So I think that is very powerful, Trishy. Thank you so much for your comment. Because, yeah, I mean, absolutely. Um, Denise Harris says Katie Proudfoot also said the other kids are more important than Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. Absolutely, Denise, she did. And just the fact that she's bringing them up so early on is almost, saying it without actually saying it, in my opinion. It's just behavior unbecoming of a mother who, I mean, again, I would probably feel super guilty if it was me and my daughter had gone missing out of my home. I would just be guilt stricken, right? I'd be like, how could I let this happen? What happened that night? What time could this have happened? Like, I would be ultra focused on those details just because, obviously, if we're to believe Katie's story that she was, that they had come home from, an evening out. He takes out the trash. That's his chore. He takes the trash can to the end of the driveway, comes back in. He's in his room playing. About 9 o'clock, she lets him stay up an hour later than usual. So at 9 o'clock, he says goodnight to her, says goodnight to the puppies, and he goes in his room. If we're to believe all of these things, right, that Katie says has happened, then she's sidetracked, right? Because she goes to wake her son up in the morning and he's not there, right? But then also she adds in this thud detail too. So then there's that to kind of compound everything. But either way, just saying she's completely innocent and she just wakes up and he's not there like he's supposed to be, like he usually is. I mean, those are the details that I'd be focused on. What the hell could have happened that I didn't know what was going on in my own home, right? Like, who could have come in here and snatched him up? Who could have, how could he have just left? Who did he leave with? Those were all things that weren't, it just didn't make any sense, from her standpoint. Her reaction to all of it just doesn't make any sense. So, and Astrology for Mystics says, what was Sebastian at 15 playing? Yeah, playing cards, chess. Yeah, what was he doing exactly? I agree. I agree. That's such a good point too. I mean, what was he doing for, say, say they got home at 7, he takes the trash to the end of the driveway, right? That's really quick, chore. And it's been said by Katie that he kind of ran back, so it was quick, right? And he gets back in the house. Okay, so it's like what, 7:05, 7:10 to be generous, and then 9 o'clock, right? So that's almost 2 hours of a time frame where what is he doing? What is he playing? Is he doing Legos? Is he doing Marble Run? Is he reading a book? Is he doing activities to calm down, or is he doing simulating activities? Because, he had a heck of a day. He had a real heck of a day. And then also astrology, you bring up, or you make me think of, you know, why wasn't he doing any type of a routine to get to bed? Like he was playing in his room, from like 7 to 8, after he took the trash out, he went in his room, he was messing around playing, right, with whatever he was playing with. And then didn't he like come out and wash up for school or get his backpack ready, you know, set his clothes out for the next morning? I mean, just the regular things that we all do to prepare for the next day, right? Because it was a school night. It was a Sunday night. Sometimes that kind of takes a little bit more time to get into that routine, right? So you take some time out for that, because it seems like there was only like about an hour in the morning for him to do all that he was required to do. So I guess maybe take a shower, brush teeth, obviously, maybe get some breakfast. Um, I believe that too, Denise. I do. Cinderella says, "Yeah, I need to be medicated." Well, and that's another good point. I mean, I think a lot of people would be that way. Hey, Poppy Love, and that is no judgment on for anything, because none of us know what we would do in that situation. You just don't know. It's whatever is going to help you cope and get through it. Um, Mama Marisa says, if you notice, she tells all about the day, but it's so vague about the night. Yeah, that's a really good point, Mama Marisa. Absolutely. And then she says that she's doing all of these activities at one time, right? So we're expected to believe that Katie is sitting there. So we're expected to believe she's on the couch. She's sitting on the couch, right? She's got her textbook out. She's reading. She's talking to Chris on the phone, right? Because they talked from like 9:40 something to whatever. 9:30, 9:40 to whenever, almost midnight is what they said. Um, and then she's sitting on the couch doing all these activities, talking with Chris. Sebastian, around 10 o'clock, there was a thud. So about 15 minutes or so, 20 minutes after she gets on the phone with Chris, there's a thud in Sebastian's room, right? But she doesn't go check on him. She just hollers at him, I don't care what you're doing in there, but go to bed. You better get to sleep, and then, um, all of these things that are happening at once. It's weird. And then she's like, I was falling asleep, right? So she got her textbook and everything, she's hearing a thud in her son's room. It's just, none of it makes sense. None of it adds up. You're just kind of, we're left with, no details for the night. You're exactly right. We know all about the day, the places they went, the fact that there was bowling league that night, and they didn't get to bowl, but that was their original plan. um yeah, Mama Marisa says it's obvious that she's so obvious. It is very obvious, and that's part of the frustration. Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom says, we all have seen how she adjusts her story to fit the narrative. She can't keep her story straight even to this day. Yeah. And even, especially like, the Dateline interview was very, very different as well. She adds in details that we never heard before, right? Like that she went into Sebastian's bathroom. She never said that in any of the other interviews. That was something that she added into this one, into that particular article. And says that she went through, went and looked through the entire house, Their house isn't a mansion or anything like that, right? It's just a regular house, like a ranch with a bonus room above the garage, right? And as Chris would put it. And so it would have taken her more than a minute. She said it happened in a minute flat in one interview, 3 minutes in another interview, right? Whatever, potato, potato. Either way, there's also some time in there that is unaccounted for. And then I don't know if I still have, let me take a look. And oh, I bet you oh no, I have it. Here's this one, right? That's that morning. And then the early bus came, at 6:20. Sebastian's bus would come at 7. But there's Katie's car window, rolled all the way up. And she's just driving around the neighborhood, Didn't stop the bus driver, didn't say, hey, can you radio over to the school and see if my son is there? None of that stuff. You know. Denise says, Katie Proudfoot, you are a great liar with thumbs up. And I mean, I think she does think that she's doing good, and kind of pulling the wool over people's eyes, but, many of us do see through it. And Megan L says, how she says, quote, sorry, we will keep digging till we find him, leave no stone unturned, and bulldoze him when I see him again, makes me feel ill. That was another thing too. Thanks, Meg. It makes me feel ill too, because those are all kind of references into dirt and digging and, under something being under something, right? Bulldoze him down. I know that there was talk from SF Investigates that he said that the construction zone needed to be checked. The one that was right next to their home, because there was a bunch of digging going on over there. That was another reference to that I or another connection, I guess I could say, that I made. And that's what Deception Detective was talking about as well. These key statements, right, and phrases. We will keep digging until we find him, right? That was weird. That was said in the latest interview with Holly Thompson at the year anniversary. Then you also have her saying leave no stone unturned in that same interview, and also the bulldoze him to the, down with hugs, right? But she says bulldoze him down, and then it was like a little bit of a pause with hugs, right? Which is just weird. It's eerie. I just kind of got a little bit of a cringe there. So yeah, and that's another thing that Deception Detective was talking about today that was interesting. Just these key phrases that really make you stop and pause and say, why would she say it like that? Why would she state it that way, right? And it's worth examining, I think. Tell us how you really feel, Denise. That's funny. Perfectly imperfect. Yeah, and it's frustrating at this juncture. It is, I mean, I try to keep it light, it's Saturday night, these things, I want you guys to feel entertained and have a good time, right? But in the same way, if we think about how frustrating this whole case has been and all of the events, every single, well, I'll just say every time we feel like we might be getting somewhere, it seems like we're taking a couple of steps back, right? And then sometimes we get pushed back, 10 steps. But then, we make progress again. But it's just it's just frustrating at this juncture. It just really is. Trishy says she gives way too much information about activities of the day, but nothing after trash is out. Right, exactly. And even like to the point of like what she was doing too. You know, like at one point she says she's doing all of these activities, right? Sitting on the couch, watching, doing this, talking to on the phone, reading whatever for school. But then, she doesn't say any of the activities that she was doing while Sebastian was playing, because from 7 to 9, she doesn't even get on the phone with Chris until 9:30, 9:40, right? So, I mean, she's even cloudy on her own activities, what she was doing, and then also during that phone conversation, it's also just like I was talking to Chris. She doesn't give any details on why they had such a long conversation. She did on Smiley Stories World talk about how, Chris works out of town. The only way that they communicate is over the phone, so that they did spend quite a bit of time on the phone. But, it just kind of makes me wonder, because even if you're in a new relationship, or even a long distance relationship, and maybe you guys can help me out with this either way, but you still have your own life that you're living, and you might be talking to somebody, and you might really like them or be falling or whatever for them or whatever, but you're also like still living your separate life, right? Because they're long distance, and it's just, especially with them being married for a while and have been in a relationship, it would kind of be like, I don't know, I would think it would almost be like you were also living your separate lives at that point, because I think there was turmoil in the relationship. I don't think any of us can really um deny that, because I think there's been a lot that has come out about it. But I don't know, maybe they were arguing and she didn't want to mention that. So yeah, for astrology for Mystic says, for all we know, Sebastian's in the car. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Um, no more crayons for you. Do we need a timeout chair? Um, Trishy says it's so weird digging. Yeah, it is. It's so weird digging. And they've referenced it, that referencing it that many times, or, referencing things about digging or bulldozing, or something being underneath something. It's very odd. She's using the worst language. Yes. And that's the thing. I mean, I think a lot of a lot of what they're saying may be too strategy, from a lawyer, or the lawyers kind of prepping them for interviews. Even our friend Jana, she had come in and told us, whenever she did the interview for her sister's case, for Crystal McCrory Jones's case, the news anchors, or excuse me, the news reporter who interviewed her gave her the questions that would be asked and things like that, because that's usually how it goes. They'll tell you what they're going to ask you. It's not like they're going to try to catch you off guard, or they're not particularly doing that. Maybe if you're maybe Barbara Walters, I mean, she was pretty good at that. But you know I feel like she uses the worst language possible. I mean, she just does. She's the worst language ever. um Denise says this is so obvious and disgusting, and all of us see the truth. Yeah, and it is. And then all of the baloney that was going on, all day, all night, all day, it just keeps going and going and going and going, just like a deranged hamster wheel, that you just can't get off of. It's strange. And, I try to just kind of stay in the know about what all is going on, but, I'd say, it, but it's mentally exhausting, like all of the crap. I'm not good at, you know, watching it and deciphering a whole bunch of drama and stuff like that. Um, so and it doesn't help the case. It doesn't help the frustration level. Um, Mama Maurice, oh, you guys, oh, Astrology for Mystic says, my kids are grown I tilt the earth to find them. Yes, if they were missing. Absolutely. Absolutely. Her behavior isn't normal. I agree. And even, no matter what, those are always your kid. Your kids are always your kids. They're never going to not be your kids, right? Even if you're, a young mother when you have them and you're, 100 years old and your kid is 80 years old, right? You're just always going to be their parent, their protector. If you don't know where they are, it's up to you to find them. You know, it's sad when we see the behaviors that are happening. It's sad when we see a stepfather even going on a panel and acting a fool. Like it's absolutely astonishing when we see it, right? Because it's like, who does that? What kind of father would do that? What kind of stepfather would do that? And it also we question their innocence in the whole thing, or their involvement in it. We wonder, could it have been an accident? Could it have been something that was premeditated? Could somebody have snapped? That's what makes us wonder these things, is the behaviors that we're seeing. If we didn't see these behaviors, then we probably wouldn't be questioning it as much as we do, if that makes sense. But Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom says, I've heard people around her say bull rush, as in bull rush him and hug his neck, but I don't know, maybe it's not the same. Okay, yeah. I mean, I understand that too. Like, and it could just be, you know, the way that they talk, right? Because everybody kind of has their own way of speaking, so to speak. That, everybody has their own little like euphemisms that they use, or analogies or sayings. But yeah, bull rush. Okay, so, and I don't know. And I don't know how rough and tumble, because I think of a boy. I don't know. Boy mom, you need to help us out with that one, because I mean, I'm a girl mom, so I'm like, I used to being like softer, I guess, but a boy, I don't know, because maybe, I don't know, but I know with Sebastian having, his chromosome deletion and things like that, and the fluid on the brain, I would probably be a more gentle with him than I would be, like, say, if my son was like, a 16-year-old, one of those big beefy football player kids, or like, he was a big tall basketball player. I might be a little bit more like, hey buddy, ha ha ha, with him. I don't know, because I don't have a son, but like, I don't know. And I'm very smushy of a person. I don't, my personality isn't, really like Katie's at all, I don't think. But Megan Els says, oh Lord, I'd be the loudest, most harassing mother in the world if my child ever went missing. I know, I would be too. They would hate me. They would be like, here she comes. Like, they really would be with me for real. Like, I agree. I would be, you know, feared, revered. I don't know. here she comes, and we all know why she's coming down here, and she's about to raise hell, and what's she gonna come up with this time? I mean, I'm sure, because, and that's the thing, and we're all different, but yeah, Denise says, yeah, they were on the verge of divorce. Yeah, and and that's what makes me believe things like, the neighbors alleging, when he says, it's either him or me, or, come get, dot dot dot, expletive asshole statement. That's why I believe it. I believe that because of those, because I think they were having turmoil. Heather Cohen said that in the beginning. Heather PI says this in the beginning, when I believe it was on the News Nation interview, and she said, hey, look, there was a domino effect. There was turmoil in the marriage, and it wasn't going well, and and then, not to mention, the custody case was also actively brewing, right? And actively going back and forth. So, many reasons and stressors, extra stressors. You have good stressors, you got bad stressors, but those extra stressors that you're putting into the mix is going to put pressure on any relationship, any marriage, really, because when you're battling back and forth in court, there's going to be times where you're going to be in a real shitty mood, and it's better to just, act right. But many times people can't do that. Um, yeah, I know. He did play that clip, Meg. So Meg says, deception, deception detective. Sorry, guys. That name is hard for me to say. All right, Deception Detective showed a short clip of CP showing Sebastian how to use a mini excavator. Yes, and I have the picture of him doing the excavator in my intro, right? Because I've always thought that, well, I was shocked when I saw the picture because they had made it seem like Sebastian wasn't, you know, in a position because of his different abilities, that was something that he wasn't, he wouldn't be able to do, right? Just the picture that was painted initially. But yes, I mean, I know he was asking, well, was it on X? Was it on X that he was asking, like, does anybody know, like, where this mini excavator came from? Was it something that they rented, or was it a piece of machinery that they already had? So, I mean, it makes you wonder. It definitely makes you wonder. Mama Marisa, Lady Hindsight's giving me a hard time. I saw you guys. I saw you guys down there. I've been just ignoring you. You too. No, I'm just kidding. You guys are making me laugh. I'm going to take your Easter baskets away if you don't behave down there. Oh my goodness. Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom says, well, they wouldn't even say if they were talking on the phone or if they were on a FaceTime call. Like, why not? Paint the picture so we can better understand how the night went down up until he went missing. Right. I agree with that. Yeah. Let us know how the night went down. Right. Yeah. From both perspectives. Like, what was Sebastian doing? What were you doing? What was going on? Because, what if he wasn't, let's just say this, what if he was in his room on the internet, on a secret phone? What if he was talking to somebody online? What if Katie was in the living room on the couch and he had his door shut, but he had somebody at the window? His room is ground level, right? I mean, come on. Like, when we were kids, there's stuff that you do that your parents don't know about all the time. You try to get away with stuff like that. So it's, yeah. And, again, too, Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom, it's like, if it was, she was the only one in the house, and I would be just beside myself, racking my brain. How the hell did this happen? Where did he go? How could he have just gone from the house, right? Did he go out the window? Did he go out the door? And I'm not saying that she didn't consider any of these things. And I'm not saying that she should have considered these things, like, right off the bat, right? Like, when she discovers he was missing. But it's really odd. And then she also feeds us this weird story about the morning, how she thought maybe that he went and got breakfast, but you literally have to go, her room is on this side of the house. Here we go. On this side of the house, right? And his room is on this side of the house. And then the kitchen is someplace in the middle. They have like a dining area, the front door, right? So it's like she literally had to go past the kitchen in the morning to get to his bedroom. Right. And now some people might say, well, yeah, Lady Freedom, but maybe she was groggy and maybe she hadn't had a cup of coffee yet. And she just walked through the house, didn't look in the kitchen. Right. Which is a possibility. But just all of the details, and then adding into Dateline that she went into his bathroom. She never said that. Right. But Holly Thompson almost like opened up the conversation with a question for her like that and said, was he maybe in the shower, or maybe did he go up and do this? And she never said, yeah, actually I thought he might have been in the shower, and so I went in the bathroom to check, but he wasn't in there. I mean, again, that would have been the normal, what's normal, response. That would have been the normal response though. So it's just quite odd. It doesn't make sense. Um, and she doesn't give us enough information at all. Perfectly imperfect boy mom, it's right. Was it a FaceTime call? Were you and Chris sitting there like looking at each other because you don't get to see each other every day? Were you looking at each other because you're in an argument and you want to look at each other's facial expressions? I don't know. You want to see if somebody's lying, you might do a FaceTime with them or something. I don't know. But again, something that's just bizarre. And Meg says, Mama Risa, be careful she doesn't call the Easter Bunny on you. Before he or she comes, you might get the harness. Oh my goodness. You guys are cracking me up. Oh, little child backpack leashes. I always feel bad for the kids that have to be on those. And I'm not shaming anybody that does that. I don't care. I'm not, it doesn't matter to me. It's your kid. But it's so cute. It is cute in a way, but then I also feel bad for the kid. I'm like, oh, look at them. Oh my goodness. And I just pictured Mama Risa on the end of one. No, you're not invading the chat at all, Mama Risa. No, I enjoy it. Hindsight and I have been very anxious today and just picking at each other. Aw, I love my friend. That's wonderful. I love it. I love the camaraderie. It's a good thing. It's definitely a good thing. Aw, and it's making me laugh behind the scenes. I'm just trying to keep up. I'm trying to keep up the conversation here. But and I know these are things that we've all thought of before too. But I love like good creators like Deception Detective that kind of gets my brain reworking on some of these things too. So, and I appreciate you guys, talking about it too in the chat, because it's like, the more that we kind of analyze these things, it's just, I don't know. I think I need a bigger investigation board. Like, I think I need one that like I keep outside. Maybe it like folds up or something. I don't know. Because there's a lot to this case, and it's also been 14 months. Meg says, I think all the energy that CP and KP put out into nonsense things could be better well served into doing something to find Sebastian, but what do I know? Yeah, I feel like that too. I feel like, there's a lot of things that they can be doing. There's a lot of, even how about just not, some of the things that they're doing even would be better if you didn't do anything at all, if you're going to do that, like the ranting and going on the different channels and stuff. Like, what's the point of that? Because all you're doing is stirring up drama, causing problems. You don't say anything helpful. The last couple times was horrible. Crazy things, you know what I mean? Like, just things that were, absolutely insane, threatening, just different things. And so I think even just stop doing that, and even just stay at home and don't do, stay off of YouTube or something. I don't know, because like, it doesn't help. I don't think it does. Oh yeah, there is so much seen, and we all watch it just go round and round. That is so true. It's so true, hindsight. And it's hard to take it all in too, and it's hard to like make sure that you're watching it all like in chronological order too. That makes it really, really difficult, because you're sitting there and you're going, okay, And did I watch this first or this? Or did this happen first or this? And, it's like exhausting trying to keep up with all of it. It is. And Astrology for Mystic says, I would be in hell, or I would be in hell. I would not be able to sleep. It would be a nightmare. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it is a living hell, right? If we think about it, it's like, that's exactly what is going on here. Your child, who you don't know where your child is. I mean, if anybody, probably, if we took a poll and probably asked like what's every parent's worst fear, this would probably be on the top, right? Maybe, getting in with the wrong crowd or something like that, and getting into substance abuse or something like that might be a top one too. But I mean, this is really the worst thing that can happen, right? And especially not knowing for 14 months. I mean, talk about hell. They say what hell is repetition, and then here you are spinning your wheels trying to do everything you can, and nothing is helping, and the Jersey lady says, yes, for sure, I would be the nutty mom. The Jersey lady, that's so funny. Yeah, I mean, for sure. Like, of course. I mean, and and it would be expected. Like, I don't, and that's the thing. I don't think most people would have a problem with that. I think most people would identify with it rather than, I mean, at a certain point, I'm sure people would be like, okay, calm down, ma'am. You know what I mean? But I mean, it would be understandable. But like the insanity and the drama that they're bringing into Sebastian's case is like off the charts, right? Like it's like, why? It's hard to even figure out why. So it's crazy. It's just crazy. Astrology, there are no words for how it would feel. I pray always for Seth. Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, and then the holidays too. It has to be the hardest thing ever. I mean, I can't even find the words. Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom says it's more of a talk than actually how we would physically do. Like, I tell my kids I will knock you into next week, but they know I wouldn't put my hands on them. As a boy mom, I get their attention. Oh, true that. Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom. That is so true. Right. Yeah, because boys are a little bit different, right? Like, girls, you really have a different approach. So I appreciate that. Yeah, because you're, as a mom, especially with boys, you have to let them know, like, you mean business, So I understand that. Yeah. I'd be cuckoo nutso looking for my child. Absolutely, Meg. Absolutely. I love that, cuckoo nutso. I would be too. It would be like, because you would literally drive yourself crazy. You know what I mean? And that's why it's good to have good people around you, a good support system, right? And that's another thing that I find, to be really important, in terms of even some of the, slop that I saw, over on Julie's channel about Tony. And I'm like, look, this person is there for Seth. This person has proven themselves over time because he's been here for a long time. I have never saw any evidence to the contrary of him not doing what is best for what Seth asks of him, right? Which is between him and Seth. Nobody is pervy. Nobody is privy to that information, right? I mean, it's between them. So I think that we need to, leave the A-B conversation and see our way out of it, right? That's just what needs to happen. But it takes a really strong support system, because people come at you when you're super vulnerable, and that's what they're going to do, right? Because some people are shysters, and that's how they get their way in, right? And then they exploit from within. But it's very important to have a close circle of people that you can trust, and that's how you can be stronger. And then also, choosing people who are going to represent Sebastian in a very, honest way. I'm sure, I can't even imagine. I really cannot wrap my mind around or imagine watching a live stream where they're talking about my child's case, and they're also talking with my ex's new partner about SCX toys and such. Like, to me, that again has to be hell, to sit there and have to watch people do that mess. I mean, I would be, again, like a crazy person, cuckoo nutso. I would be, because how dare you, and what is your problem? But the really messed up part about it is that we have the stepdad up there doing it. Stepfoot is up there with the panel, and they're talking like this. It's crazy. I wouldn't appreciate it. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's just me. C. Taylor says deception detective refers to himself as DD. That's easier way to say it. Thank you. Okay, so he doesn't mind if I call him DD. Okay, good. Nice. Okay, because I'm like, deception. I promise I'm not drunk up here, guys. That's funny. Okay, so thank you, C. Taylor, DD. And Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom says using tougher words with them than I do, saying sweet, soft words they consider cringe. If that makes sense. I get it. Yeah. So I tend to sound tougher around the edges, but I'm very loving and affectionate. Oh, LOL. I bet you are. I could just tell that about you. You have a very compassionate and good heart. That is so sweet. Yeah, but use the tougher words instead. Well, of course, right? Because if you're like mommy's little boy, like they're gonna be like, Mom, you're like, what the heck? And so that's so funny. Aw, yeah. Well, there was even words that, I would say, and my daughter would be like, Mom, oh my God, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what to say. All right. I'm not cool at all. I get it. You think I'm lame, but whatever. Um, and Mama Marisa says, just remember that they take in show pics like that, like he's like his daddy, he's daddy of the year. We all know differently. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and the thing is that when you actually watch the video too for the mini excavator, I think that's the one you're talking about, Mama Marisa. I mean, Sebastian looks like he's kind of, well, a couple things, focused on, what he's doing. He's taking direction very well, in my opinion. But he also seems like he's stressed out, of course, because, we have Stepfoot and he's at the helm, right? And I mean, that could be overwhelming, and for a couple of different reasons, knowing Mr. Chris, and the way that he likes to discipline Sebastian, DD is much easier, Trishy, right? Yes, yes. Hey, Holly S, good to see you. And the Jersey lady says, I think it was something they had rented to do something specific work in the yard. Thank you, Jersey lady. Yeah, I was wondering. I was like, I wonder, like, if they rented it or if it was like a piece of equipment that they had, like, because I know there's construction, folks in the family, which, I mean, I have construction people in my family too. So, I mean, that's, and people rent machinery all the time to do jobs and things like that. But, and Trishi says, yes, it was on X. He said the mini excavation. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, so it was on X. Thank you. I go on there sometimes and I can't remember if I saw it on Twitter or X, or excuse me, same thing now, X, or if I saw it on Facebook or what, um Yeah, he was, but yeah, Trisha, you're right. He was asking if it was accounted for, which made me think, okay, did they rent it? Um, and then Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom says Dee Dee asked about excavator and at night confirmed it was before Stafford Court. Okay, right. And it was rented for a specific project. Fantastic. Thank you, Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom. Right. See, because I was thinking Sebastian looked younger and it didn't look like the yard on Stafford. So okay, thank you. So it might have been like the White House or something address. And Sherry says Katie and Chris made it sound like he was not capable of anything, that he was capable of taking care of himself at all. Sherry, I agree with that. Thanks for coming in, Sherry. And I agree. They did make it seem that way. Well, and they said certain statements, like when they told Duchess that Sebastian, his mind hadn't caught up with his body yet. Also, we didn't know that Sebastian was taking care of himself, after school. So he's pretty much, and maybe it's just like kind of my generation, but a latchkey kid, right? Latchkey kid. Um, Many of us when we were kids, we would have keys to the house and let ourselves in, and we take care of our younger siblings and stuff like that, because our parents were still at work or nobody was home yet. And so, but that's what I call it is a latchkey kid. But that's what Sebastian was. He got home before Katie, and so he would let himself in and probably fix himself a snack or whatever. And then whenever he was at his dad's house, he would take care of himself while Seth was at work. So I agree, they did make it seem like Sebastian had far more deficits than he had. But what's really interesting is that his 8th grade teacher, Patricia Szymanski, was interviewed by the local news station. I can't remember if it was 2 or 4, but she said that if you saw Sebastian walking down the street, you would think that he had no deficits at all. And so, and that was the interview that happened about 5 days into the search for Sebastian. So, I mean, you know, it's like, that was way before, but that's a teacher versus, what a mother. I mean, a mother should know more than a teacher, right? It's just kind of weird. It's weird. Yeah, hindsight says yes, only when it fits their narrative, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree. I agree. And Mama Marisa says if he walked out that door, then where is the footage? Exactly. And see, and that's another thing too, which it was said that they were worried about the footage, right? Like they were worried about the footage. They were asking people for it. They were wanting people to give the addresses where the footage had come from, things like that. But again, we don't have any knowledge of any footage of Sebastian, even the trash footage, of him taking out the trash. There really isn't a strong indication that that was him or not, because the video was too grainy and it was too dark out to tell. And Megan L says, if my husband lost his child while I was away, there's no way in hell I'd ever leave my child with him. Sorry, not sorry. I mean, that's a great point, Meg. I mean, I would have to say that that's correct. I mean, I would feel the same way. And it's not to disparage the other parent or like punish them or anything. It's like, depending on the intent, but it's like you would lose that trust, right? And you just wouldn't want it to ever happen again. So it's like you're not allowed to, you you can't be trusted, I totally get it. Yeah, absolutely. And Trishy says exactly hindsight. They intentionally and strategically were short in their explanations of his cognitive abilities. Yeah, and I agree with that 100%. They were very intentional, and especially now we can look back with a better viewpoint and say strategically. I really believe that as well. They were giving short explanations. In the beginning, their interviews with The local news outlets were kept very short and sweet, and the same story was regurgitated, especially like when we think back to, um, you know, when they did the Duchess interview, they were on for a couple of hours, but then Holly Thompson's interview, was about a 20-minute, and even Caitlin Miller's was right after that, and those were both for local news channels, right? So, but they were keeping everything very short, sweet, and to the point. Um, they told very similar stories, and in the second interview with Caitlin Miller, it was just basically like dot 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 dot. Same thing we told Holly Thompson. It wasn't there wasn't anything added in until the Chronicles of Olivia interview, where Katie said that Sebastian had taken the trash out. She also added in more details about her driving up to the school. She also added in more details about how Sebastian liked to dip behind the walls. She also added more information in that interview about her using expletives after finding out Sebastian wasn't in his room, um, when she went to wake him up for school. So absolutely. And with them being short with the explanations of his cognitive abilities, it was just to further muddy the waters, in my opinion, and to make it to where people wouldn't have known what to look for, in my opinion. you know um so, oh, sorry guys. Hey, show poodles, good to see you. Sorry guys, I just lost my spot there. Hey, just me, good to see you. Hey, debutante. Oh, I see everybody coming in. Sorry guys, I lost my spot there. um there we go. Sorry guys. Happy Easter, debutante, thank you for being here. And Meg says, my daughter has a turned hip when she was young, so she would trip over her turned in foot, and she had one of those backpacks for when she didn't want to hold my hand, so I would keep her from falling. Oh yeah, Meg. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, because that way, like, it would kind of like help with her balance and stuff like that. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I know, because usually you see them and you think the little kids like run off before, or like they've been in trouble, or something. And so I'd be like, "Oh, they they're on lockdown." But that makes sense. Thank you for sharing that, because yeah, I would have never thought of that before. The no emotions, Mama Risa, that is true. The no emotions are very telling, very telling. And Holly S says, in my opinion, if they keep doing these rants. Oh, I did. Oh, okay. I knew something weird happened when I did something just then. Well, alrighty. All right, give me 1 second, guys. I'll be right back. By the way, I'm so sorry, Trishy. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, guys, so sorry about that. I'm so sorry, Trishy. I'm gonna go ahead and do the YouTube Studio app thing and see if I can't pull you back in. My goodness, I thought I pressed the wrong button for some reason. I thought I pressed a button because it like brought me back in the chat. It did something. So I'm so sorry. Thank you, Just Me, for hitting the like button. Here, I'll do like an early party. Why not? And let me see if I can't figure this out really quick. Dang it. In hindsight, says Lady agreed, very uncalled for and disheartening. It's about a child, not someone's personal life. No need for it, in my opinion. Yeah, and like it's always the people that are trying to find Sebastian. You know, that's the craziest part for me is I'm like, why is it everybody that's just trying to find him? I mean, if it was, I mean, obviously you wouldn't want someone who's like committed like red rum or something like that. That would be dangerous. Like that you know, like if you're in the woods searching with somebody and, you know, something like that, that kind of makes more sense to me, you know, as to why they wouldn't want that. But it's just absolutely disheartening. And again, you know, it's recycled information too. And something that it just isn't relevant, like you said. So thank you so much, Hindsight. Absolutely. All right, guys, I'm going to play this little party thing for you guys while I try to get Trishy back. My gosh, I'm so sorry, Trishy. My Lord. Let me get back down to these clips. Okay, here we go.
Weezer, there's someone I'd like you to meet. That looks like an autopsy.
Laughter through tears is my favorite emotion. I'm so mad I don't know what to do. I want to know why. Lord, I wish I could understand. I just want to hit something. I want to hit it hard.
Here, hit this. Go ahead, Malin. Slapper. Are you crazy? Hit her.
Are you high, Clary?
We'll sell T-shirts saying I slapped Weezer Boudreaux. Hit her. Weezer, this is your chance to do something for your fellow man. Knock her lights out, Malin.
Let go of me.
But y'all don't say that.
Malin, you just missed a chance of a lifetime. Have a chickapin parish and give the eye teeth to take a whack of Weezer.
You are a pig from hell.
Weezer, I was just kidding. Come back. Oh.
Weezer, what brings you here? Shut up.
Not a very Christian thing to do. And now you gotta lighten up.
If you can't say anything nice about anybody, come sit by me.
Looks like two pigs fighting under a blanket.
A girl is fair game until there's a ring on it. And I mean a wedding ring. An engagement ring just means she's ready for one more mistake. Okay, this is perfect. Watch this.
Sometimes I wish I was smooth like Zahid. Of all the people I know, he's the best at girls.
Thanks, Weezer. That's my good piece of ass.
And that's how you do it. Now, I'm gonna go hide in the back because that guy said he's gonna kick my ass and he has a neck tattoo, so...
I am pleasant. Damn it! I just saw Drum eating in this morning at the Piggly Wiggly, and I smiled at the son of a bitch, for I could help myself.
Honey, time marches on, and eventually you realize it's marching across your face.
Okay, Trishy, I should have got you back there. I think I did. Um, let's see. Hopefully I did. It is heartbreaking, C. Taylor. Hey, Detroit Rock City, good to see you. Oh my gosh, I seen where I did it. Oh my lord. Hey, Tony Fire, good to see you, Tony Fire. Yes. Good morning, crazy world. Good morning, crazy world, Tony says. Let's see. Momming it up says, I'm still here listening, but resting my eyes. Aw, Mommin, thank you for being here. Let's see. Hello, Chloe Jade. Good to see you, sweetheart. Good to see you. Yay, Chloe Jade's here. All right. Adam Forever 21, good to see you. Thank you for coming in. Let's see here. Is our Trishy back? I love Sally Field too, C. Taylor. Oh my gosh, she's a great actress. Trishy, yay, Trishy's back. Woohoo! Okay, sorry, Trishy. Oh my goodness. I'm a goober. What they did, guys, I wish I could do like a screenshot and show it to you. But they messed us up. Well, I don't know if other creators use their phones, but like I use my phone. And so I'm over here and I'm like, you can like right under show on stage, there's a button, but then underneath it's like delete a comment, put a user in timeout, ban user, star comment. And it's like, I accidentally must have clicked one of those. And see, and this is when I was trying to put all you guys up tonight. And it's like, of course I'm clicking people off. My goodness. Yeah, it's so good to see all of you guys coming in. Boy, yes, or boy, excuse me, boy, mom, yes, and I would be horrified and irate at, yeah, at the ones who were saying terrible things about my son. Well, and I heard a lot of disparaging things. Hey, James Coover, good to see you. I've heard a lot of disparaging things here lately too, even when it comes to Sebastian on the hate channels. So it's very unsettling, to say the least. But Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom says, all I can say is that if I was Katie, I would be going on panels asking to stop the drama and focus on Sebastian, not laughing at my husband making a mockery of the situation and stirring up more drama. Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. Like, I'd be upset with him for going on panels, period. Unless it was like, talking about Sebastian in a professional way, you know what I mean? But Chris likes to be in the limelight, right? It seems like he likes the attention, and he even enjoys thinking that he is powerful enough to break the internet. That is one thing that he loves to boast and brag about, It's crazy. Happy Easter, James Coover. Thank you so much. Thank you so, so much. Yes. Yes, couponing. Thank you. Mama Marisa, come sit by me. I just love that movie. It's so funny. Oh no. Okay, I need to okay, goodness. See, this is gonna remind me. I'm gonna put it in big letters too for astrology too. Okay, that's gonna happen right after the show. Dang it, Trishy. I'm sorry. That was all me. Like, there's these big, and I'm telling you guys that it's like, okay, there's the buttons are like this down here. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4 buttons, and then like the one button that where I could show you guys on the stage that I have to press every single time. They're right underneath that button, and that's how I did that. Oh, dang it. Yes, Chloe Jade, exactly. He likes controversy. He does. He likes it. C. Taylor. Hey, sweet Sativa. Good to see you. Right, mom, and that is so true, right? 7 million plus in Tennessee alone and 20 to 40K views makes him think he's broken the internet. I mean, it's delusions of grandeur. Like, though, that is a very good example of the delusions of grandeur. Like, I'm so important. You know what I mean? But he's really, in the grand scheme of things, he's just a regular guy. And you know, has a missing stepson, it doesn't look good on him, you know what I mean? It just doesn't. It looks, strange, and it makes it seem, I don't know, like he's diverting the attention away, right? He's definitely diverting the attention away. Um, and we've seen that throughout. I think, you know, and even in the very first interview. And maybe I don't know, and maybe you guys can let me know what you think that you would do. But even, I mean, with Duchess and things like that, it's like they knew of Duchess through Katie's cousin, right, that lives near her, and then somebody else was, you know, oh, see, Taylor, thank you for becoming a member. Thank you so much. Welcome to the Dragon Tribe. Um, so, I think, and everybody's going to react differently, right? We don't know how we would react either way. We just wouldn't. No, but Trishy says, "Don't worry, Lady Freedom, I still love you." Thank you, Trishy. I won't go start some YouTube mod thing drama. Lady Freedom took my wrench, and I did nothing to deserve it. And as a matter of fact, she was reading my comment while she while she took my wrench. Oh no. Trishy, say it isn't so. Okay, I'd be so heartbroken, I'm telling you. Aw. Well, and then they have this other button. I wish I could show you guys what I'm working with here. Because then there's this other huge button, and it's it's like this big, and I have this much screen to work with on the other side of everything, and it says share your referral link, and so I keep accidentally clicking that button, and I'm like, oh, I'm a mess. I'm a mess up here. What was I? Mom says I knew you were in trouble. What was I saying? You guys got me cracking up. Oh, like the first interviews, it doesn't seem like they're wanting to show themselves, and it's kind of like they already knew of Duchess and everything, but like it, we didn't see them kind of even try to set up kind of a camera or their laptop to show themselves like sitting together and answering questions from the chat and or Duchess, because I believe Duchess had the opportunity to speak with them before her live, so she had asked them questions, and kind of already prepped them a little bit for the live, if you will. But that's another kind of interesting thing, that they didn't like really show themselves at all, until the Holly Thompson interview. But it seems like they try not to show themselves like over and over again, right? Because then after the Holly Thompson interview, they did the Only Hands interview, and then they were like on the YouTube tour, right? And they were doing all that, not showing themselves ever either. And even when, Chris is very comfortable going up on Clue's panel, you never see him. You don't see his face, you don't see his facial expressions, gestures, anything like that. It's like they're hiding those things, because I would want somebody, if I was pleading for my child's safe return, like I would want them to see me, right? We see Seth all the time. He doesn't just get up there with an S symbol and, You know what I mean? He shows himself for the majority of what we see. You know, and James says Wright believes he broke the internet when actually it's things he says and does that has gotten us uptight, wanting answers to his lies, and gives us a lot to talk about and discuss opinions that we have. Well, absolutely. It stirs us all up, right? And we know, and he knows that he's doing it. You know, he's like pushing our buttons. And, you know, we're sitting over there like, God, this guy, like, what's wrong with him? Like, I can't believe he said that. Or what is he doing? That's an all new low. And, you know, all of this. But you know, you're right, James. Absolutely. It's getting us uptight about it. You know, we're letting him, you know, kind of run our emotional throttle at that point, and they love it. He loves it. You know, he's like he likes the attention. You know that it gets him. He really does. I believe that he really does love the attention that he gets, and it's definitely attention-seeking behavior that we're seeing. You know. Um, And Sweet Sativa says, I'm usually on the phone and my keyboard is so tiny, I always hit the wrong key. Yeah, exactly. I do that too. And sometimes if the chat's going really fast, it seems like it's easier to send that, you know, hit the send button. Because I've been chatting before and only like half of what I said gets out. Sweet Sativa, so I know what you mean. They changed the back end of the studio thing, and then they're also like, put your referral link, and it's like there's no way to like click a little Xbox like off of it. It's weird. Um Trishy's starting trouble everywhere. Oh no. No, Trishy, you're awesome to have in the chat. That's why I'm like, oh my gosh, really? Um that's funny. Mom. Tony Fire says true, but surely we won't do it like KP. She shows no genuine emotion. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, she sniffles and wait for CP to take the lead. Well, and yeah, she does. And you know what's weird in that other phone call? And I wish I had a better chance to get that out to you guys, but we'll talk about it. The one with Chloe Cohen. I'm sorry, Chloe Cohen. See what I did there? Heather Cohen, the PI for Seth, that his first one. You know, she's very assertive. You know, something that we're not really used to seeing, but she's very, very assertive, in my opinion. And Sweet Sativa says, if you read Olivia's interview comments, couldn't find a single one that was in support of them. And that was in the very beginning. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think even local people, you know, with their silence, the silence wasn't the smartest move, in my opinion. You know, so I agree, Sweet Sativa, is that they really had a very negative public view from the jump, you know, from Jump Street. But you know, they didn't help the situation because, you know, then right after Olivia, they did Smiley, and then Chris went on Terry Lynn's, you know, by himself that night, and was, you know, showed his really pig side, you know, after he was just, you know, on Smiley's podcast, you know, bragging about how he, you know, disciplined Sebastian in different ways, you know. And in my opinion, it was abusing him, not disciplining him, in my opinion. And Bless says, Sweet Sativa, I blame that on fat fingers. I told my niece I'm saving up for a finger liposuction. That's funny, Bless. There you go. I need some of that too, just on my pointer finger, you know. We don't need it on all of them, just or even the thumb, you know. Thumbs and pointer, because those are the ones I usually text with the most. I call the boss to the office. Meow. Holly S says, does anyone know if they're gonna get them taken down? You know, I don't know. I don't know that, Holly S. I would imagine that they wouldn't be able to if they've been bought and paid for, because, you know, we've seen that happen with our friend Jana and her sister's billboards. The same thing, you know, where Jana had the first billboard positioned was in a spot where, you know, sorry guys, hold on one second. Let me just open this so it doesn't crinkle in your ear. Okay, there we go. But you know, where they were positioned was an upsetting spot for those who were involved in the investigation or the lack thereof. And they wanted them taken down, and she was having a lot of issues with that. Um, you know, ultimately she was able to get the same spot in the billboard where it was, because the company said, look, she paid for it, so we're putting it up. You know, and of course that causes us to pause whenever the people who are directly involved want these things taken down. I mean, if you don't have a guilty conscience, then what's the problem with having a billboard that says "Justice for Crystal McCrory Jones" on it? There shouldn't be an issue, you know. And hers didn't even have any type of, you know, well, and neither did the other, you know, the other billboards, you know. So, but I don't think so. I don't think they're going to be able to get them taken down. I think that's kind of more of like, again, delusions of grandeur, like as if you have that kind of power, because you don't. The companies that are putting them up are putting them up there, and I don't foresee them being taken down, especially when they're paid for, or the ad space has been promised, like on the blip billboards, for instance. And the blip billboards are the ones that just kind of like show the images, and then it's, you know, it's all digital. Then they show another image or whatever, another ad, another whatever. But it's all paid for ad space, right? So even as a realtor, I could have went and paid for ad space and had, you know, my team and my picture up on a billboard, right? And Keller Williams, and, you know, Realty, that's where I studied and was a realtor at. And so, I mean, yeah, I could have done that, right? And I would have paid for that spot. So I don't see them being able to. I really don't. Just thinking of it from those different aspects. Yeah, when you pay for that, you pay to play, and, you know, they can't do anything about it. And like I said, Crystal dealt with that as well. Excuse me, Jana, Crystal's sister, dealt with that as well with Crystal's billboards. And James says they definitely talked about the questions before the interview, and then the second interview added extra info, like the thump she heard, which was not even mentioned in the first time. In my opinion, it's the last thing she heard and can't get out of her head. And I'm sure she even has nightmares from the guilt she has. In my opinion, shows perfectly. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that, James. You know, I mean, that could have been the very last thing that she heard, and it's sticking with her. You know, I mean, very much so. Um, yeah, I agree. And Tony Fire says, as far as CP is concerned, every time he comes on a panel, he gives us more nuggets, and soon he will spill it all. Yeah, and you know, the more angry he gets, the more he could divulge, right? Because obviously when we're angry, we're not thinking clearly. So I can definitely see him doing that, Tony. Absolutely. And sausage finger sweet sativa. Yeah, sure. She says Holly S, that's their goal. Who knows if it will be successful though. Yeah, yeah, and I do think that that's their goal. I mean, he was obviously upset about the billboards. They don't want them up. Excuse me, they don't want them up. Um, you know, even Queen Bee was like, I didn't know. She was trying to spread awareness, right? And so she showed them on her channel, and she's like, I'm sorry, that I showed them even. She's like, I didn't know what they were and things like that to Chris, and Chris is, pissed off about it. So, that's definitely the goal, is to get them taken down, and to not show any, they don't want anybody seeing them, which is cause for pause, again, because like I said, in different experiences, why would you want them taken down if you want Sebastian found? James says, oh, sorry, James, that was the continued comment there. Meow. Oh no. Sweet Sativa says, I get all the lights are on, but no one's home vibes from KP. Well, I kind of thought that too for a while, or I considered it definitely. But ever since I heard that phone call, it was like, there's got to be something. You know what I mean? That like there's something more to it. Because and I think it's more of an act that Katie puts on, or a persona that she puts on. Because I mean, she was very assertive in the phone call with Heather Cohen. Couponing says, I heard BHB, if they come down, she was putting them back up. On Justin's, they were showing one with Summer and Sebastian. Oh, cool. That's very cool, Couponing. Awesome. I didn't know that they were showing ones with Summer on there too. That's fantastic. Yeah, and that's true. So Sweet Sativa says it's all been downhill from the first interview. Absolutely. It really has been. It really, really has been. Tony Fire says, Holly S., I so pray it will be sooner. Can't wait to find this boy. My family would think I lost it because I'm fighting YouTubers that talk shit about Seth and Tony. Oh, Tony Fire, thank you for doing that. I mean, I don't understand why anybody would give Seth a hard time. I really don't. And especially Tony, for that matter. What does he have to do with Sebastian being missing? He's just there to help. I think it's important to stand up against it. I really do. Of course, I don't want anybody getting bullied or hurt, but I mean, meow, he was flirting bad with, Terry Lynn. He was. And, who does that, but like Chris will flirt with anybody. He was flirting at court with one of the court TV reporters, according to Tony, and Seth. He's a horn dog. He's a horn dog, corn dog. And he just can't help himself. He just really can't help himself. And James says, in my opinion, KP has already gave us the real answer when she said, if Sebastian could hear, as if, and then she looks up. Yes, I feel that it was obvious, and she knows he is no longer here and in heaven, but she's trying to be positive. Yeah. I understand that comment. I do. I hope they keep him up. I do too, Sweet Sativa. I hope they keep him up. Mom says, yeah, exactly. Me too. Yeah, they didn't buy them to take him down. Exactly, meow. That's a great point. They didn't buy them to take him down. And C. Taylor says, no, they would be a contract. In my opinion, they couldn't just pay them to get them taken down. Well, that's true. Okay, so I'm sorry, I misread the comment too. Yeah, so C. Taylor, I think I agree with that. I think that once, they pay for them, it is their ad space, no matter what. Even if somebody tries to say, hey, I'll give you, how much are they paying in the ad space? Like $50 an ad or whatever. Just say, well, I'll give you $100 per ad. I don't think that it would work that way, so, and Couponing says, James, yeah, I saw that was what she said, or I saw when she said that. It is hindsight. You're absolutely right. It's so uncomfortable to watch the negativity. It really is. It really is. It's uncomfortable and it just kind of makes you wonder, like, why? What is going on here that people feel like that's appropriate or would participate, Imperfectly Imperfect Boy Mom says, meow, that's his tactic. He flirts because he thinks that will win females over. Notice she wasn't falling for his crap and he was trying to butter her up by flirting, in my opinion. Yeah, and also divert from the conversation, right? Because if someone's asking you questions that you don't really particularly want to answer, it's kind of, taking away from the situation so that way he can have control over the conversation, make somebody else feel uncomfortable, and then maybe they're going to forget what questions they were going to ask or something like that, and, trying to kind of fluster the other person because, obviously, if somebody makes advances towards you, that, are unwanted, or even if they're wanted, it's kind of fluster you, you know what I mean? It's either going to be awkward or it's going to be welcomed, and, maybe it might make you blush or something like that or whatever. But I mean, it's definitely a diversion tactic. I agree. And definitely trying to kind of butter up the situation like, oh, I'm just a flirty guy. I'm cute. I'm harmless, charming, trying to charm somebody. Absolutely. Um, and James says, I was watching a show earlier about missing children and it seemed to have one parent or another that seemed to be responsible for them disappearing. Yeah, statistically, it is, the most viable option, or circumstance that could have happened. Statistically, we see that. We see, children getting hurt by their parents all the time. Yes, Maman says, I can't wait to go live. I can't wait to go live the billboards and send it to you tomorrow. I cannot wait to see them, and like I said, I screen grabbed that one. I wonder if it transferred over. Sometimes my phone will transfer stuff over and sometimes it won't. And it's never when I need it to, of course. Now I need to deselect that. Oh no, it doesn't look like. Hey, big. No, it doesn't look like it did. Oh, drat. Oh man. Yeah, Mom, and exactly. Yeah, James, statistically sad that typically is the case. Yeah, and it is. It's so sad because you think about it, it's like, who would want to think that the parents could have something to do with it, or, even a step parent. Yeah. Tony says he flirts because he thinks he has a golden banana. but he but he's just a small mullet monkey. Tony. Tony, that's great. I'm sorry, that's so funny. And James says the billboards, in my opinion, was talking to the ones that are responsible for Sebastian being missing. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yes, yes. But they did not say that it was KP or CP was who they were talking about. And with CP coming out and wanting them to. Yeah, well, and I agree. I agree with that because it's one of those things where, I mean, it's just like, I mean, of course it doesn't say, this is Chris and Katie Proudfoot, where's your son, right? But it does say, where's Sebastian and who took me, still laughing, things like that. So yeah, it's very pointed. But again, it probably shouldn't, most of them shouldn't bother them because if they think somebody might have took him, then what's so what is so aggressive about that, or what bothers you about that, So, um, oh yeah, thank you for asking, C. Taylor. Yeah, she's doing great. She's awesome. Jana is doing great. There were a couple of really big, and off the top of my head, I cannot remember which people had interviewed her specifically. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. But they came in and, filmed and, were doing doing interviews with her about Crystal. So, and I need to be better about getting on Facebook too and checking on the updates and things like that. So, but yeah, so her case is getting definite traction. And then of course, like you said, she's such a warrior. And then she just is always working on helping other families too, with her her newest book that came out. So, yeah, she's an amazing woman. So, and we're going to get back into reading the book as well. So I'm going to be planning for that. But I wanted to wait until some of this drama died down because I did not want Crystal's case associated with it at all. It was, yeah, no place for it. You know what I mean? Just no place for it at all. But thank you for asking, C. Taylor. That's so nice of you. Yeah, that's true. Mom says hindsight, secondhand embarrassment is a thing online, it seems. Absolutely. Absolutely. And James says taking down the billboards, and why would he want them down if they are talking? Oh, if they are talking to the responsible people involved. CP, oops, CP, you messed up there, in my opinion, because that tells me that the answer is within yourself. Yeah, absolutely, James. And that's the thing, if it wasn't triggering, then it wouldn't be an issue, right? But the fact that it is bothersome becomes the issue. Hey, CB Canada, good to see you. Why doesn't one reporter / interview ask the question, did you, KPCP, take Sebastian's life or have anything to do with his disappearance, or know who did? Imagine CP saying, what does that have to do with Sebastian? Absolutely. And that's always their go-to, well, or they'll say, we're not allowed to disclose that. Law enforcement told us, that would impede the investigation, and all of these different like weird things that they come up with. Just solely not to, just so they don't have to answer. And Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom says, didn't CP claim he donated money for the billboards that someone else was putting up? Why does he have a problem with billboards now? Because it hits close to home. Make it crystal clear, CP. Exactly. Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom. I mean, that's right on target. Absolutely. It's just they have a problem. I believe they have a problem with it because it's it's bothering them a little bit. It's like a poke. It's like the conscience hits that conscience. That he pretends not to have. And James says, make it crystal clear to let me, made it crystal clear to me who the responsible ones are, and the guilt blew up, didn't it? In my opinion, yes, it surely did. It brought them out into the open for all to see. It sure did, because, he could have been quiet about it and not said anything, and then we would have never known. But the fact that he is, blatantly upset, going on panels, screaming in misdirected anger at Brittany, different things like that. It just goes to show, and we all know the real reason why he's upset. It's because of the billboards, or it wouldn't be even a thing. And Tony Fire says James Coover 100% correct. And those that know either have money or passed away, so the dollars amount makes me nervous. Yeah, absolutely, Tony Fire. That's another great point. And I think a lot of this comes down to money, absolutely. And Meg says, allegedly the Wells don't want a night putting, or oh, sorry, allegedly the Wells don't want at night putting Summer up on billboards. Oh, so that poked the Wells too, huh? That's interesting. I didn't hear that. Thanks, Meg. Oh, happy Easter, Lori Vallow is guilty. Thank you for being here. Happy Easter, happy Easter. And what I will say is, those billboards could be speaking on anyone. Absolutely. I agree, Meg. I do. People who don't know about the case, people could think it's pointing at Seth, and he doesn't care. That is such a good point. That is absolutely true, right? Because they say, who took me? What did I do? Of course, and just even naturally in human nature, or just in our own thought processes, when we hear a story like this, we think, well, where was the bio dad? Right? Where was the bio mom? What was the dynamic? For people who are interested in figuring these things out, those are our first questions. So I think that's a great point, Meg. People could definitely point the finger at Seth, but he doesn't care. He wants them up. Very interesting. Yeah, that's a great point. And James says, I guess if I was guilty, I would feel nervous too. Tony Fire. James, exactly. Now she hits behind, or no, she sits behind him in court. Oh, I know, Meow. I know, right behind Chris and Katie. But I think that was more because Terry Lynn is wanting to stay relevant and like stay in the spotlight, because there's only one reason why she would go and sit directly behind Chris and Katie, is because she knows that's where the camera is going to be, which again, this narrative that she was pushing to us this entire time, that she's only there for Sebastian and it's all about Sebastian. She doesn't care about anything but that. But yeah, she makes sure she gets right in the mix so she can be on TV. I mean, it's crazy. And then to see her even sitting behind them for most of us is again, like it's like mind games, pretty much. And don't forget to hit that like. Thank you, Lori Vallow is guilty. Thank you. Aw, that's sweet of you. Tony says, well, and I believe that too, Tony. I do. And Meg says so many inconsistencies as well. CP said in the one interview that all the lawn signs you see are due to him because his mama is a realtor, but Terry Lynn was taking donations for signs. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, she was taking donations for signs. Yeah, because I know she said that in the latest interview. Yeah. That's really interesting. Yeah, Meg says then she said on the news she had a company donate 300 signs. But it's like, well, it just keeps getting crazier and crazier, and more unbelievable. And, and then people get mad. How come you don't want to believe me? And they, goodness sakes. It's like, what a crock of crap, And CP and KP say, or excuse me, James says CP and KP have pointed out in too many ways on their guilt case. Oh, excuse me, on their guilt, because in my opinion, guilty cannot keep it completely hidden, and it will start seeping out of their pores. That's true, James. Yeah, and their mouths, and in my opinion, that's what made me believe what has happened to Sebastian and who is responsible, and it has come from only them, no one else, that got me to my conclusion. Well, and that's such a good point, James, because that's who we've kind of followed the lead of is Chris and Katie, because it happened at their house. Their words have led me to the conclusion too, because of course I take into consideration what law enforcement has to say as well, but it's their words that they're speaking that is making me think a certain way. It isn't law enforcement or any of the other factors that I consider. So yeah, that's a great point. And Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom says, after the things I've heard about him, his banana is past rotten for for even banana bread. Oh no. That was a sick burn. Perfectly Imperfect Boy Mom. Oh my god. Meg. James says the billboard. Oh my gosh. James said the billboard that said you made me go missing. Oh, that one. Yes. Yes. Let me see, because I know I have them in here. Is it this? Oh no, you know what? I don't think I have that other one. This one's a Google it, y'all. Okay, so I didn't load that one in there, I don't think. Because the other one I put on, yeah. No, so I only have these ones. I need to load the other ones in there. Oh, CB Canada says, hey, Lady Freedom, this whole case is turned upside down. CP can't control the narrative. Boo-hoo. CB Canada. That's the truth. I know. And I feel that way too. Like, boo freaking who? You guys are angry because we're talking about you. You're angry about the billboards. You're angry because, somebody flips sides and, da-da-da. You're angry because of this. But it's like, yeah, I think we have every right to be, and it's like, boohoo if you're, I mean, yeah, yeah. And it's like, we should feel sorry for Sebastian is who we need to feel sorry for. Because, he's still out there missing. And James says, yeah, he's not asking to take down. He's demanding that they be taken down. In my opinion, asking and demanding are two different things. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. If he was like, hey, I would appreciate it if you would take those down. They make me feel uncomfortable. But, and again, going back to what Meg said, Seth isn't worried about people thinking that maybe, I cried, you lied. He doesn't care. You made me vanish. He doesn't care about that one. What did I do? He doesn't care. Was it worth it? That's not bothering him. It is bothering Chris. And CB Canada says CP did say in interviews that not everyone knows about Sebastian's case. So why wouldn't he welcome billboards across the country? Amen to that. I mean, and that's exactly right. Why wouldn't they? And, they would say interesting things in their interviews as well. Well, I found it to be interesting when they would say things like, don't worry about, putting flyers up around our area. We'll put them up around here. Just make sure you put them up everywhere else, as if they didn't want them around their area. So they're saying that they're going to put them up. But we know they don't, But they're like, don't put them up around our area. We got our area. It's like, what? James says, yes, poked the beehive and the bear appeared, hoping to grab his honey and eat it too, but instead got stung. That's true. That is the truth. That's a good one, James. She was sitting with BHB and Seth. Yeah. Yeah, just before that. Yeah. Oh, I know. Well, and then it's like, you can't tell me who to hang out with. And it's like, nobody's telling you that. But I mean, it's a little weird, don't you think? Don't you have some explaining to do there? Hindsight says the reel that he put up on his Facebook yesterday was completely inappropriate, in my opinion. I heard about that, Hindsight. Absolutely. Well, from what I heard, it sounded absolutely appropriate, absolutely inappropriate. Yeah, Meg says, I saw that as well, but he feels he's justified and won't be held responsible, in my opinion. I agree. I think that he's very cocky, you know, and he knows what's going to, tick people off. So he's upset about the billboard. So he's going to go off and, act out instead of, standing up and doing the right thing. And Tony Fire says, one thing is for sure, CP did not think Sebastian will climb into the whole world's hearts, and we will never stop searching. He can fight and scream. We will not stop. That's right, Tony. Exactly. That's exactly right. And he did not anticipate that. And he even admitted that, so yeah, just terrible. Yeah, and then to the photo op, I mean, that's how I looked at it. I don't know what the intentions truly were, but in my opinion, that's what it looked like. And James says, we know that they are innocent until proven guilty, but in my opinion, the guilty need to also prove that they are innocent. And just with them saying that, they are not good enough. Where is the proof? Because in my opinion, James says, we have more proof of them being guilty than they have showing that they are innocent. So it does go both ways, in my opinion. I agree, James. Like if we made like a pros and cons list, there would be far many cons than there are pros, in my opinion. Or I guess depending on which way you're looking at it, positive for them doing it or negative for them not, something like that. But I mean, it does outweigh. I know exactly what you're saying. In hindsight, says Tony Fire, I agree with you. They thought he would just be a runaway teen. Right. Yeah. Or they could pass him off that way. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great point, hindsight. CB Canada says KP is watching DD and M Damon and adjusting her stories. Yeah, CB Canada, we were talking about that earlier because, I mean, that's what DD was saying. He's like, yeah, he's like, they must be watching me. And, they definitely admitted that they watch, that people send them stuff. I mean, they're worried about anytime they're hashtagged. So anytime they're hashtagged, they say they go and, click on the hashtag or whatever. And so, I mean, yeah. And we know that they're kind of, stalking people's channels and stuff to see what people are saying about them, and if anybody gets too close, that's when they start the harassment and the, threats and everything else. James says, in my opinion, and allegedly, I feel that when CP laid him down, that he would just stay down, but did not expect that Sebastian would help with him getting back up and won't stop till Sebastian gets his justice. And Sebastian deserves justice. I mean, no matter which way we slice it, he's been away from his family for 14 months, so I think justice needs to happen, and Tony Fire says, I just can't believe that LE didn't call in FBI. New eyes and people not known to the Sour Socks will turn it around. I agree, Tony. I really do. I think that that's one of the things that, needs to happen. I think that it should go over. I don't know at what point Sumner County will release jurisdiction, because I've been thinking about that too. At what point are they going to say, you know what, this needs to go to a higher authority? Or, as you're saying, a fresh set of eyes, right? Someone that's not known to the Sour Sox, someone who doesn't have, any skin in the game, or, a dog in the fight, however we want to say it. Because it certainly seems like there's a bit of stubbornness, in my opinion, not doing that. And so, oh, Holly, I wonder how they did that. They got one taken down. I didn't hear. I mean, I heard Queen Bee say that she got one taken down, but I didn't know whether, that was set out of frustration or just to kind of razz people up, or, I mean, people talk is so cheap. We never, for many of us, myself included. But they'll never get them taken down off of my channel. I'll just keep on posting them as much as I can. You know what I mean? Hey, Brenda, good to see you from Washington State. Yay, Brenda. Thank you for being here. Hurry back, couponing. James says, and in my opinion, if Sebastian even ran away, I would not have any doubt that he would have went to his real dad's. He would have been found that same day. Yeah, the 26th of February, Monday morning. That was one of my first thoughts, is that, maybe he did go to his dad's, right? Because at first I had knowledge of, and again, I was watching Pascal regularly back then too. And so, I knew that his father lived in the area, quite a ways away. But like you said, if he would have walked out and went to his dad's, he would have been found someplace, on the path of his dad's, in my opinion, so that's kind of where, I left it there too, because it's like, it probably didn't happen that way. And then Katie and Chris even denied that in a couple of different interviews as well. If he ever wanted to go to his dad's, he knew he could just ask and he'd go to his dad's, things like that. So I agree. But I mean, that thought did cross my mind at first, thinking, what if he, got into it with his mom, or felt like he was in trouble or something like that, and he decided to like dip out and go to his dad's, So, oh, good. Town Chat Cafe. I'm glad you're still here. Yeah, I'm glad to have you. I went on a little bit earlier tonight because I wanted to go, I knew people would probably be busy with Easter and things like that. And I'm going to take a day off tomorrow, go to the beach and that sort of thing. So, but yeah, I'm glad to have you here. And James Cooper says, and we need to not forget about CP saying, when he brings the proof, he will bring the proof. That is very true, James. That is very true. Yeah. Well, where's the proof, CP? Because all I have seen is a stepdad that did not love Sebastian and abused him. And by his own accounts, James, it's right. That's right. I mean, that's what Chris said, and he told us what he did, and in my interpretation as well, he abused Sebastian. It wasn't discipline; it was taken too far. CB Canada says, I don't use hashtags trying to avoid a restraining order. Well, and the only thing that hashtags do is they, not the only thing. I mean, I guess, and it's different. We were talking about too, like, it's different to do, like, if somebody tags you in something and using that @ symbol, than it does to, hashtag or whatever. Because hashtagging is just like to make sure that the information stays, organized, if you will, in the computer's mind, right? So it's like searching a specific thing, right? And if you have a hashtag in there, if somebody types in that name, then it's going to pull it up. It just makes it easier for the computer to recognize, and then it makes it easy for the creator to engage people to come in based on the hashtags, right? That they place in their videos. So it's, mm, um, Tony says, CB that thinks she ran these YouTube streets, soon her subs will also see how she makes them stupid with their money. Well, and that's the biggest thing for me that really bothers me, is that when people lie to their viewers and go ahead and yeah, they take their money, they're okay with um having memberships and things like that. It's like, you know um it's not okay if you're lying to the people. If people already know, then there's a different thing. But yeah, I'm sure, just like I felt stupid giving my money for a membership to somebody, I think that people feel the same way as I do. You know what I mean? Because everybody works hard for it. Everybody gives of, out of the kindness of their heart and things like that. So, um, oh, okay, Brenda, thank you for being here. Have a blessed evening. Happy Easter. Happy Easter. And Town Chat Cafe says, I'd like to know what private schools they have looked into in case they pulled a setup like that, show the program. Yeah, Town Chat Cafe, that was just so good, right? I know there were 4 or 5. Well, one was the school in Gallatin. There was another one in Utah, I believe. And then, there were a few. I'll have to get that list together. Um, Mr. and Mrs. E's Crime Cast went over those emails too. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, it'd be a good idea. One of them was in Missouri. I believe the other one was in Texas. Yeah, something like that. But I don't want to misquote. Hey, Sasha, good to see you. I don't want to misquote. And James says, and did not want him around, and now he is missing. And after you told KP to make a choice, her son or you. This is the only proof that CP continues to give us all he does and said. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and then he didn't even want to say like whether he saw Sebastian, what date was the last time you saw Sebastian, but now he's willing to give that information out. It's just weird. It's not even like a big deal, right? But I'm going to hold that information out. I can't give that out. Bull crap. It's insane. And CB Canada says, I forget which hate channel it was, but recently CP and Ellie went back 30 days for geofencing. He also said he did not give Ellie his password to his cell/Wi-Fi. Yeah, I remember that being said, CB Canada. Thank you for bringing that up. But yeah, 30 days on geofencing, and I think that is going to be very important data. Now, of course, that data takes a long time to get through, right? So there may be things that they're finding out now that they didn't know, but I thought that they did it very early on too, So um, it's just, gosh, I hate to get impatient. Hey, Baba Rose, good to see you. Hey, Sammy. Oh no, Sammy says, I have no idea you were on, just talking about a whole bunch of food. It's too late to order. I'm missing out over here. Sammy, I'm sorry. I wonder why it doesn't tell them the notifications. I did put it on for like an hour before. So I wonder if that's part of it, that possibly because I think the earlier I do it. No, Cece, good to see you, Cece. I will not be on tomorrow night because I'm gonna do like a beach day and stuff, but I'll be back on Monday. But I'm hoping that I can get everything going, together for the videos that I wanted to put out. So I'm been working on multiple videos and also trying to get together the audio of the phone calls and stuff. So the phone call with Heather Cohen. So Tony Fire says, it bothers me too Lady Freedom's raw narratives, and some of them disappear after their money is gone, and then the B forget about them. Sad. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, when the next thing comes along, you know, they're going to that next thing. They're not worried about what, the kids that they were so worried about before. You know, yes, I will. Town Chat Cafe, I will. Excuse me, email. Oh, sorry, email. The names. Yeah, because I don't want to misquote it, Town Chat Cafes, because I know there were several. There was like 4 to 5 that they were looking at, that were around. And then I can't, because I can't remember if the 5th one was in Gallatin or not. But of course, they did an expose. Hey, Seashell. They did an expose on the school in Gallatin, because there was a lot of abuse going on, and children were actually, losing their lives over it. It was so bad. Thank you, Sasha. Happy Easter to you too. Hey, Tina girl, good to see you. Happy Easter, guys. Hey, Forget Me Not, good to see you. James says, but I have no doubt that it will not be different to what everybody believes already, just be better if we knew how, where, why. And CP, you can only tell us the truth, so please do, and try to be a man. Well, exactly. And also, like Katie, she needs to start telling the truth too, because she was the last one with Sebastian, and she's not told us anything. It's just like, she wants to stay quiet in the shadows, and it's like, no. CB Canada says Seth was surprised Ellie didn't get the Foots devices for 2 weeks. Likely Ellie needed a warrant and keeps needing them. Someone on X asked CP if he stopped KP from talking to Ellie on 2/26 when he got home. Wow. I mean, that's a big possibility, right? Because the police can't make us talk unless, they arrest us, right? But even at that point, you have the right to have a lawyer present, and that's when the questioning stops and your lawyer comes in. So yeah, CB Canada, that's a great point. And Meg says Dee Dee said he thinks that they need to be using devices to look at in the ground. Oh yeah, like ground penetrating radar. Yeah, I think that would be a good idea with the ground penetrating radar. Now, of course, the neighborhood right next to the Proud Feet, that new phase that was being built. I mean, there's a new park up. There's a lot of things that were, re-landscaped and everything to, fit the new neighborhood. So it just makes me wonder too with what he was saying. It really does. No, you're good, James. James says, sorry if it sounds like I'm repeating myself. Most likely I am. No, you're not. Reason for hoping to get the message out for Sebastian, and maybe the right person that sees it does something about it. No, you're fine, James. I like reading your comments, and I appreciate it. Appreciate you. I mean, it is frustrating, and we do need a reminder of these things too. It's hard because there's so much in the case. It's just difficult. And James says, and cuffs go on, and bars being shut, and justice is served. Once that is all done, then I won't have to repeat myself any longer. Yeah, or not until then. I understand, James. I know. And it is. It's one of those things where we want to make sure that we're, keeping the word out there, reminding people. And, I know a lot of us are not going to stop until Sebastian's found. And then even so, to get his justice that he deserves. That's the most important thing. And CB Canada says, in my opinion, I think the feet and socks made LE's job difficult and shut down the convo from the get-go. That is a strong possibility. I mean, I would never discount that because that's very possible. And, they would have a reason to do that if it was something that they didn't want discussed, right? And we can see them doing that a lot, shutting things down, shutting the conversation down, acting out and distracting from the, real situations that are relevant for us to, things that we should be focused on. Yeah, well said, CB Canada. Thank you. And Cece says, seems like they were on the defensive early on. I found that strange. Oh, definitely. Yeah. And then just the complaining, like, you don't know, and I wouldn't wish for you to know. Things like that was very odd. Things that you don't typically hear. You don't hear people blaming the public, but it's like guilty people will blame anybody around them as long as nobody's looking at them, I don't know if I don't think so, Sasha. Is there a drone that can scan for DNA? I think most drones are more, can more search for like the heat signatures and things like that. So, and James Cooper says, it would be in KP's best interest. Oh, in my opinion, it would be in KP's best interest for her to open up and come clean before she ends up going missing. Because if CP gets away with his involvement, I feel that he can't have any witnesses left. Yeah, and that's a strong statement, James, but I can see exactly where you're coming from with that. I mean, it's like, how is this going to end? I do think of that sometimes, who's going to come forward, who's not, who's going to take a deal, who's going to crack, who's going to, I mean, they're all valid questions to think about, and Town Chat Cafe says, how deep does that ground radar thing go down and detect? Because if he is no longer here, then in my opinion, they put him even deeper than what it would detect, especially since they have the ability and equipment. Right. I am not sure. Let me take a look. Oh. How deep does ground? Okay, so ground penetrating radar depth penetration is varied and depends on factors like soil type, antenna frequency, and moisture content. Generally, ground penetrating radar can reach depths of up to 100 feet or more in low conductivity materials like dry sand or rock. However, in a high conductivity materials like wet clay, penetration may be limited to a few feet or even less. Okay. So dry soils like sand and gravel allow for deeper penetration compared to wet soils like clay. Right? Lower frequencies can penetrate deeper but have lower resolution, while higher frequencies provide better resolution but less depth. And then water increases the conductivity of the soil, reducing the depth of ground penetrating radar. So dry sand is 100 feet or 30 meters, wet clay 3 feet to 1 meter or less. Fresh water can reach 40 meters. Concrete ground penetrating radar can typically penetrate concrete slabs up to a few feet depending on the age and composition. So, yeah. So it can be, hundreds or 100, Sorry, let me make sure I'm saying that correctly. Sorry. It could be, 100 feet to 3 feet or less, so a very wide range depending on, the type of ground that you're trying to penetrate, if you will. And James says, you all heard this saying, I'm sure, from private movies, dead men tell no tales, but that was before we got the forensics technology we have today. Absolutely. That's in one of my favorite movies, Fried Green Tomatoes, and that's what Jessica Candy says. She says, dead men tell no tales, when she's talking about Frank Bennett. The secret's in the sauce. And CB Canada says, Mr. Chris seems to be worried about searches on private land. He has mentioned that several times. We should make a list of all of the places the feet, socks shut down or interfered with searches. Were they nearby? Hey, that's a really good point. Yeah, just trying to figure out, which searches they were a little bit worried about. That is a good point. Really good point, CB Canada. Thank you. In my opinion, 100% agree with James Cooper. Town Chat Cafe says, yeah, James has good stuff to say, definitely. C. Taylor says, Middle Tennessee ground is hard to penetrate. Many Middle Tennessee homes don't have basements based on the soil. Oh, great point, C. Taylor. Thank you. Yeah, so I mean, it's very dependent on that, right? And then also, the reasons why they don't have basements. It's the same kind of like in Missouri, they don't have a lot because, I mean, it's all rock and stuff. And so, thank you for that. That makes a lot of sense. And James Cooper says, remember that his sister screamed out to the backup over Nina. So the possibility is very, very possible and has the opportunity there. And with her already missing, as we know, how long would it be to KM? And CB Canada says, I worry that unless they have a strong evidence, i.e. digital evidence, a defense attorney will rip this case apart. They might get a few Ann Taylors to defend them. Yeah, well, and I mean, you never know. And I'm thinking with it being so high profile, there'd be a lot of high profile defense attorneys willing to step up and take the case. I'm worried about that as well, CB Canada, and I think that's another reason why law enforcement is waiting to pounce as soon as they find Sebastian, locate him. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, there's no doubt that could be, a very possible hypothetical, or it could be a very possible situation, hypothetically speaking. And Megan says, if we do believe there was a 3 a.m. car and the video, the Sebastian was taken somewhere, if buried. Yeah, well, and I mean, I really do think I really do think the 3 a.m. car is something, because there's not a whole lot of other options, just because, obviously we know that somebody can't just, disappear into thin air. So I do believe the 3 a.m. car, in the video, I do. But then, where did they take him? I know, Meg, it's frustrating because it's like, what happened after that? Where did they take him? Hey, Ann, good to see you. Meg says construction on the new homes area wouldn't have been going on during the weekend, but would have started up again Monday morning. Well, and I'm wondering too, like all of that area over there, I don't think there would be a place for them to, I mean, in the middle of the night and stuff, it would just be really, really hard to like do anything quietly in that area, in my opinion, with any type of machinery in the middle of the night type of a thing, so it's definitely questionable. But Well, guys, I better get off of here so I can get my butt to bed. So I can get up, and at a decent hour. I still got to kind of make sandwiches and cut up some fruit and stuff like that. So, but I love you all very, very much. And I hope you have a wonderful Easter. And I hope that whatever you're doing, you're spending it with people that you love and people that, you can show them how grateful you are to have them in your lives. Let's all say prayers for Seth tomorrow. I know it's got to be so tough. In the beginning of the show, I talked about how, this was the first year that I didn't make up an Easter basket for my daughter. But I can't even imagine, not knowing where she is and not knowing that she's safe. And so, my heart goes out to you, Seth, and you are loved and cared for. We're very proud of you here for doing everything that you can for Sebastian. And I hope that you can be surrounded by love and support tomorrow. And I'm just hoping that there's justice for Sebastian. And yeah, we're just praying for you. We're praying for you. Good night, CB Canada. Happy Easter, Meow. Thank you so much. Happy Easter, James and C. Taylor. Good night. Good night, you guys. Good night, Meg. Good night, Ann Reynolds. You have a happy Easter too, my friend. Town Chat Cafe. Thank you, guys. Thank you all so much. And take care and drive safe. Have safe travels too, guys. Thank you.